Hi, I'm Luka Anicin, an AI engineer, and I'll be guiding you through this module. So the first thing is what I want you to do is to explain the code base. The prompt that I want you to send is explain what this code base does, what is its purpose, and what are the main components. I am a new engineer taking over this code base. On board me so I can start working. Okay? Good. So after you send this message, you will have some explanation. As you can see, let me zoom in a bit. Now, depending on the model that you use, this is Claude Haiku 4.5. Some models will immediately answer. Some models will ask you different questions, like for example, could you clarify what files and folders are currently visible in the workspace, and stuff like that. Now, depending on the model itself, let's choose GPT-5 and say, for example, explain the incident API. And it should enable. Okay. So one thing that I do quite often when I'm using these models, I always change which models I'm using. I never use only one model. And throughout the course, you will see that I'm gonna use quite a lot different models. So I'm gonna use GPT-5, Opus, Gemini 3, and so on. The main difference why I'm using these different models is in the fact that I actually tend to see which models will give one result, and then I challenge this model with another model to see if the same model will give the different results, especially when you're testing. So what my practice is when we start writing tests, to write a code or not, but speed up the coding with one model and then write tests with another model. And that produces amazing results when you need to test different things inside of your code base. Let's go to the incidents API and start and see what it does. So if I want to explain or understand one part of my code, I can select this and I can place it in here, and or just if you see, you would immediately have API.py, from this line to this line, and explain this endpoint, what it does, is it fully functional, what are its dependencies, and yeah, that's it for now.
So you are asking it while you highlighting that, right?
Yeah, so I highlight and I just go here and write the chat. You will see that it will automatically ping me here and say API.py from the line 10 to line 16, which is exactly what I selected. If I don't select it, you will see, for example, right now I selected only line 15. This changes in here. Okay, you see my mouse? This.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Okay. So depending on what you want to understand, you will have different lines appearing here. Now, my workflow whenever I'm using the new code base, I always first ask, what is this code base about? Of course, depending on the overall structure. And I'm trying to get a sense of how these main parts are fitting together. That's what we did in the previous chat. Now, this is always on the high level. No matter the model you ask, sometimes it will be useful, sometimes it's not so much. So that's why I need to dig deeper. So for example, if I need to implement a new endpoint, then I would go and select it as I did, and you will have this explanation of the get incidents endpoint, as you can see here. And what it does, this endpoint retrieves a list of incidents with optional filtering and sorting. Lists all incidents from the in-memory incident storage, optional filters by status and result, and you see that it actually got all the others incidents as well, or how we should do that. Now, is it fully functional? Yes, this endpoint is fully functional. Now, I intentionally asked this question because this is a misleading question. I generally saw my engineers from my company doing this, but this model doesn't know if it's functional or not. So one thing that you should always strive from doing is asking model if this is working, if this is nicely implemented, or should we change something to this. These models are language models, so they are nice in the writing code, but they don't really know all the details of the code if they are not executing the code. Okay? So you need to execute the code or the model itself, and then you will get the feedback. Now, if you just ask the question as I did, this is fine. This is something that I did, most of my engineers are doing, but it will tend to mislead you, and then you are not focusing on that. You are completely focusing on another thing. So good, now we know what the incident does. And I didn't even look at the code so far. Then another thing which I do is use inline AI to add a simple edit. For now, let's go here into my incidents. This is what we did is function level understanding. Now, before we edit anything, before we change the code, there is one more thing that you will see. This is an ugly function, really big, ugly function that is really like implemented in a not so nice way. So for example, this function will get like a really benefit of explaining. So I would write here is explain this format incident report function step by step. What does each parameter do? Now, the function level understanding, what we did for the simple API call is fine. However, when you have this big of a chunk, like a function that is implemented in convoluted way, intentionally, of course, we'll refactor that later on. But this is where the AI actually strives quite a lot. And you can see here, so let's understand it together. This function generates a formatted text report for an incident and its associated tasks. It's highly configurable with many parameters. And then we have a list, incident, task ID, include metadata, and so on. Okay, so what it does, it adds a custom header if provided, adds metadata header based on our parameter. And you can see here that this is linked to a file. So if I click on this, it will immediately jump to that line and to that parameter. So if you start explaining a function with a specific function, as I did it right now, you can inspect the flow and where each of the parameters are used throughout that function by just clicking that in the chat. And that is really powerful when you have a function that's being called from other functions and so on. So right now you see that this actually created an issue list for this function as well. So I didn't even ask right now, but it created code smell excessive parameters 13, which is something that we definitely need to change. HTML markdown not properly implemented, repeating string concatenation, and Boolean comparisons use this instead of if variable. And you can see immediately where this is implemented and where the potential mistake lies. Now I see somebody raised hand. Don't worry, I will get to you in a second. When understanding the function, and when I ask if this function is well implemented or is it working is one wording that LLM doesn't know. But if you ask, for example, to analyze the function, as I did right now with a really simple prompt, it can on the syntax level understand these mistakes. And you can see here, all these mistakes are on the syntax level because we are working with text. And if AI model, whatever you use, gives you a list of potential issues that are on the syntax level, that's fine. And you can be certain that it actually works. So I'm gonna switch to edit right now. And it will end the current session. That's fine. We'll create a new one. Because for asking, now if you go with the ask, it will just generate answers like, oh, this code does this, or this feature does this, what we did thus far. Now edit can also explain. However, it's still just explaining, not editing, not changing the code. So the first thing, let's go to the next kind of a task, is to perform a simple edit, okay? And I'm gonna go to our file and find list products. Okay, there is no list products. Oh, sorry. Actually, let me go back to utils, and here you will see that here has like a to-do, needs to be finished. John said he would do this but left the company. Okay, so one thing to edit this is selecting, and you will see that AI will open this. You can modify, review, and we'll do both in one case. If you click the modify, what I want to write is finish function and create a preview for me to see what it does. Now this is a bad prompt, and we'll learn how to do that in a second, and how we can create these prompts in a better way. Okay, John said he would do it, but like, yeah, I know. It happened to me. It wasn't John, but it happened to me. Yeah. So if you select this and say complete this function, yeah, and it will start working. It will edit the file. So my experience is, I had one developer recently working within my company. He would generate everything with AI end to end. And especially when you're working with a team, that's not really transferable. So what would happen, that person would generate a bunch of code without checking everything, just tap complete, and that without checking, without testing. And then it would send it to review to another teammate who should continue working from that point. That doesn't work. It is just creating noise and actually slowing you down. When you're believing too much into AI without checking, without testing, that's where you tend to fail and tend to create a lot of noise and unnecessary code inside of your code base. Okay, you will see that there are two things that this model will do. One will remove that John left the company, that's fine, and it actually implemented the function. So here, this calculates the incident stats, it will take the incident list, and then you see that it actually provided this structure. We can talk about the refactoring and structure in a bit, but we didn't provide any information about the parameters of each incident. And how it found out, because it listed everything that we have in the code base, and it went and extracted all the data and provided the calculation in here. Another bug we have but it is a bit of a kind of a tricky bug, is in API get stats. Now, I know that there is a bug because I wrote this comment before we started. This calculation is wrong. However, I wrote this bug in a comment in a really bad way. There is like, what's wrong? Why it's wrong? Okay. So let me copy this, select it, and here explain. This get stats endpoint calculates wrong. It's supposed to show percentage of resolved incidents, but it's showing something else. Find the bug and suggest changes before editing code. So another point which I use quite a lot is basically as a coding assistant, not to replace the bug, not to change how the whole thing would function. It actually did opposite what I said, but always what I do, I find the bug and suggest changes before editing. So I wanted to tell me exactly what it would like to do or what would like to suggest as a change, and then I would either accept it or decline it. So the bug is in percentage calculation, this. It currently divides the number of open incidents by the total resulting in the open percentage, okay, instead of the resolved percentage. Okay, good. So it recognized the bug that I introduced. Nice. I can keep this and there is no longer a bug. Now, another thing that I like to do is refactor, but be really careful with this. Refactoring tends to introduce quite a lot of changes because AI tends to add more code that is actually needed. So for example, this big of a chunk of a function that we all agree is not that great. So I can select this and here refactor the function to be cleaner or more standardized. Follow Google coding standards and BIP8 standards. Okay. Reduce number of parameters by using a config, bict, or data class. I like data class instead. Keep the same behavior. And generally, what you can do on top of this, explain like some edge cases or explain some parameters that you like to keep as is, or you can use everything that you didn't do anything. Apply. Okay, here it is. It's internet. Okay, so it removed a lot of code, as you can see here. And this is where things get pretty tricky. When you have a big code, like it is about 100 lines of code, what you would do in real life is go step by step and compare files. So you can have here like what suggested that it's happened. So it created a new data class here. Okay, so for our configuration, and here it removed the biggest part because we abstracted that to incident tasks and configure report config. Okay, good. It actually started to document our functions. That's good because it is following PEP8, not PEP, PEP8 style, and it processed the config. Good, and starts to write in a pretty straightforward way. Now, generally, when you are accepting this big of a change, I always like to have tests. So in this case, we don't have tests for this function. But before you go and change or refactor something, you must have tests associated with your code. And my rule of thumb is for every single code that I change, test coverage should be around 40 to 60% at least, so I can be safe to assume that those changes were made correctly. So please, if you don't have tests in your code and you're starting refactoring a lot of stuff, make sure to go back, write your tests, and then start refactoring the code, because in that way you can make sure that AI is not like making things up and screwing up your originally working code, even though it's messy.
Code faster, build smarter, lead the future of AI. Join the Master of Science in AI Engineering. Check out our website,